Thanks for downloading the Garden Fork Radio podcast. I'm your host, Eric. If this is your first time here, Garden Fork Radio it's kind of a mashup of DIY, cooking, gardening, urban homesteading, beekeeping, kind of whatever pops into my head that I want to talk about with friends and guests. Make it on the Garden Fork Radio. We also have gardenfork.tv, which is our website, and we have a YouTube channel with a bunch of videos on it as well. So thanks for taking the time to listen. Appreciate it. Maybe you're in your car or are you on your power walk? I'm actually sitting here at we call it the farm table. It's Thanksgiving morning. We have to go to a Thanksgiving breakfast. I guess it's called an open house because there isn't a set time. They're like, come anytime after 8:30. And it's 8:30 now. So I'm hungry. The camera operator is out in the yard with the Labradors. They're throwing a tennis ball for a while and wear them out. We came up to the house last night, relatively traffic-free. What I thought was really amazing, if any of you are familiar with the Highway 95 between New York City and Connecticut, the first rest stop on 95 after you cross into Connecticut is one of those large mega rest stops with it looks like 25 gas pumps all in a row. And I'm kind of fascinated by gas pump architecture. I love how gas stations look at night with all their lights on. They look like little oases or kind of big oases. But anyway, we pull into the, there's always a sign for trucks to go this way and cars to go that way. And we pull into the car parking lot and it is jam-packed. It is like shopping mall full with cars circling through the different lanes, I guess, of a parking lot, looking for someone to pull out. I've never seen a rest stop that crowded, but it's the night before Thanksgiving. And I thought, well, people are either going to travel Thanksgiving morning or they're going to travel earlier on Wednesday. And we didn't really hit that much traffic. We managed to avoid some car accidents because I listened to the traffic radio, the AM radio, and that saved us a lot of time. It was really kind of a nice drive. I just load up on podcasts and everyone else kind of falls asleep in the car and I'm good to go. So here we are. So maybe you're in your car now. I'm not sure. I always like to hear from everybody. It's radio@gardenfork.tv is the email address. Someone that I've actually heard from recently and I've been emailing with is a fan whose name is Will. He lives in Minnesota. And he is actually getting ready to start a YouTube channel called the Wisconsin Backwoods Project. I've mentioned him before. But he sent me a picture yesterday of him in his deer stand. And most deer stands it can be like a rustic tree house. It can be just a ladder up against a tree. Or they can be very fancy. And Will's deer stand looks more like a cabin on stilts. So I just got to write him about this a little bit. He's got his laptop out. He's got his, it looked like some sort of a satellite internet connection, or perhaps it was a cellular connection, all while out hunting deer in the Wisconsin woods. So I thought that was interesting. Usually when I'm out in the woods, I'm literally sitting in the woods behind a tree or something like that with a lot of layers of Patagonia underwear and socks and t-shirt, and they make some pretty amazing stuff, by the way. I have a Patagonia winter jacket that the zipper's broken twice, and I've sent it back and they fix it every time, and it is pretty lightweight and it's the warmest thing I have, and I don't know, I really like it. So there you go, a little plug for that. Tomorrow I'm going to send out an email, that's the Friday after Thanksgiving, of 9 cookbooks that I would suggest if people are looking for something to buy for a friend or loved one, or you want to buy for yourself. And I think it's perfectly okay to buy things for yourself on the holiday season. And every year I usually send out some sort of email about a holiday gift guide. This year I thought I'd break it up into cookbooks, kitchen stuff, house, garden, and then some tools. And I think you all know I'm pretty much into decluttering and not owning a lot of things. But I do really like cookbooks that I know I'm going to use. And I can look at a cookbook and fairly quickly tell you whether I want it or not. And I get sent a lot of cookbooks and I give them away almost all the time. But there's 9 that I have on a list here, and they'll be in an email. And I will link in the show notes here. I'll also I'll post it on the gardenfork.tv website. It'll be 9 cookbooks to buy for yourself or someone else. But I did just buy a cookbook that I've heard a lot about and I read about online. Kenji Lopez Alt, who is a writer, I'd say he's more than a writer for Serious Eats. And I think he's kind of the next step from America's Test Kitchen. He actually worked at Cooks Illustrated, and he has a science background. Both his parents are in the sciences, and he has a very scientific outlook on things. And his tagline on his new book, which is called The Food Lab, is better home cooking through science. And I really like that because there is that geek part of me, but there's also just like to make really good macaroni and cheese. And since I'm on my GF Radio Mike diet of eliminating a lot of starchy carbs and things like that and sugars, I've been avoiding breads and pastas and things like that. But one day a week, I eat whatever I want. Today is going to be that day. And a really good macaroni and cheese is, you don't need much, that and a glass of wine, and you're done. So the book is full of that. It's almost a 2-inch thick book. And it's clear that they did a lot of work on the book. And I've never met the guy, but just from seeing some interviews with him and on some videos. And we actually have some common friends, but we've never met each other. And it's clear he's passionate, and that works for me. And it's also recipes that we will be showing on the video show here as well. Another one of the books that's on my 9 list is actually from America's Test Kitchen, and it's called Pressure Cooker Perfection. And as you all know, I love my pressure cooker. Maybe we'll do a pressure cooker gift guide. There are 2 good ones out there. I own them, so I think they're good. But there's still some kitchen myths about pressure cookers, and I think the Pressure Cooker Perfection Cookbook from America's Test Kitchen goes a long way to making it really easy to make some pretty amazing food in your pressure cooker. Not all of them are a home run. I'd say there's 6 in there that are really great, and they can inspire you to go different places. And you just learn how to use your pressure cooker and what it's possible to do. I think you can take like a piece of pork shoulder or short ribs or something, put it in there with a minimal ingredients. I will take short ribs and put them in. I usually sear them or I broil them in the oven just to get a little crust on them first. And you can sear in a pressure cooker, by the way. Just don't put the lid on, and you have some oil in there. And I do a cup of wine and a cup of water, and you can throw in like rosemary, or I put in bay leaves, things like that. You can also even put in kombu, which is a seaweed that is one of those super umami foods. I put them in beans a lot. And you let that puppy cook, and boom, it comes out, and you look like an expert. I also throw carrots in. Carrots, I'm kind of a big fan of carrots. Called Pressure Cooker Perfection. The links will be in the show notes here. If you're listening on iTunes, the podcast app on your phone, if you tap on, while the show's playing, there's a Garden Fork Radio logo, which is usually my Labrador Henry. If you just tap on that image, it'll flip and show the show notes, and there will be clickable links in there to do that. By the way, the clickable links are now functioning because I moved the Garden Fork Radio server over to Libsyn. It's Libsyn. And it is a monthly fee, but they make things a lot easier for the iTunes podcast. The iTunes RSS feeds are a challenge for me, and they've streamlined the radio feed for me. So there you go. A little aside here, if you would like to help Garden Fork out, first of all, I want you to help your families and donate to charities that you think are worthwhile. And if you would like to consider supporting Garden Fork after you've done all that, there's a couple ways you can do that. The newest part to that is our Patreon campaign, where you become a monthly supporter of Garden Fork through our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/gardenfork. patreon.com/gardenfork. And you sign up, and we're asking for a cup of coffee a month, which is $3 a month, which ends up to be $36 a year. And that's basically like a magazine subscription. And I think Garden Fork probably puts out not quite enough content to be a full magazine every month, but we're getting there. I'm always working on it. I always have so many ideas, and then modern life gets in the way. Another way you can help us is with a one-time contribution through our PayPal page. There's a link on this show and a link on every page in Garden Fork to do that. And the other way you can do it is to shop on Amazon. We have an Amazon affiliate link, and every time you buy something on the Garden Fork website and it has an Amazon link, we get a little referral fee. If you just want to shop straight on the Amazon site, you can use our link to that. It's gardenfork.tv/Amazon, and that tells Amazon that you are a supporter of Garden Fork. That link is also on every page of the website and will be in the show notes here as well. I've been thinking about productivity lately, and I'm just like right-brained, and my attention span is about like this long. And I'm holding up my hand, and it's an inch between my two fingers. I'm attracted to shiny objects. Just as I was getting ready to set up this, I almost clicked on an email that was going to take me down some rabbit hole I knew. So I was like, let's get better at that. And a couple things I've realized is you really need to force yourself to set aside like 4 hours, if that's possible, or even 2 hours. The day, I'm self-employed, I work from home, and you would think, oh, he's got plenty of time. And it is amazing how the day gets just basically cut up by the Labradors have to go to the vet, I have to go see the doctor, you need to go over and help your friend, the water heater just broke. So it got me thinking about trying to better schedule, and I haven't really got that part nailed down yet, but I'd be interested in hearing from you guys about that. How do you schedule your day? I think an analog piece of paper would be fine. I'm sure there's some apps out there as well, but radio@gardenfork.tv is the email address there. I've been looking a little bit at Tim Ferriss's 4-Hour Week site. I haven't bought his book, but some of it makes sense. Some of it is a bit too much for me, but I'm trying to be more conscious about not going down those rabbit holes and staying focused. One of those ways is that I keep the email turned off a large part of the day. On the iMac here, there's a mail app, so that reads your mail, and I just don't start it up. I look at it in the morning and I look at it in the late afternoon. Because I found if it is on and I'm working on something and I hear that bing and it's like, oh, you got some mail, I go look at it, and it's more than likely a piece of junk mail. They always come like 4 at a time. It's like lawyer referrals or replacement windows, and they're all phrased slightly differently. I'm sure there's an art or craft or science to spam, but boy, is it annoying. So there you go. There's my thoughts on productivity. Wondering what you guys do. radio@gardenfork.tv. Oh, we were off on a tangent there. We went back to our cookbooks. A couple of the other cookbooks. One of them is 100 Days of Real Food, which is by Lisa Leek. I really like their website. They are a couple who have taken a passion and made it into a living. They're all about unprocessed homemade food for them and their kids. And it started out, Lisa just wanted to get away from processed food for her children, and then she started a simple blog writing about it, and that became their full-time jobs. And I really admire them for that. And 100 Days of Real Food is 100 easy, wholesome recipes. It's good. So there you go. A couple other ones, Mark Bittman's How to Cook Everything, which I think is just a great reference. I like how it's written. I like how it gives variations. And then I can't say this guy's name. Yotan Otolegmi. He had the cookbook Jerusalem. He has one out called Plenty about vegetables. And I am definitely focusing on eating lots more vegetables and less meat in my life. I've looked at a ton of diets, and basically a lot of them say you can eat as many vegetables as you want. So I have like frozen peas and frozen broccoli, frozen corn. And if I'm hungry, I just like pour a handful of peas, frozen peas in my hand, and that's my snack. So there you go. All right, done with the books. So that we will link to that in the show notes here, and I'm going to write a post about it on the site there. This afternoon, my friends were going to go to their Thanksgiving. They are roasting a pig, and I've never roasted a pig. They asked me if I wanted to help, but I still have this ruptured disc in my back, so I'm not really able to be as mobile as I would like to be. And so I passed on that, and it might be a good thing. What is interesting, though, is you can actually buy a small pig from a butcher. And it was kind of fun this year because all the pigs had sold out. And so they asked me, Eric, do you know anyone that sells pigs? And I'm like, well, I happen to know someone. And actually, one of my neighbors has a small farm, and I hooked him up. And that's going to be the freshest pig they've ever had. So I thought it was kind of interesting. You know, if you want to try a new food, just go ask your farmer. Maybe my neighbor actually does processing and dressing of her own meats. And, no, she doesn't do that. She actually has there is a processor nearby that does small lots of animals, and it's a USDA facility. So let me correct you on that. But anyway, just something to consider there. Just my thoughts. We have a couple of new videos out. Last week, I was actually trying to be timely with the holiday coming, and I came out with 2 videos on deep frying turkey. One is a basic how-to, and I tried to keep it really simple. I think deep frying the turkey is the best way to cook a turkey. And Rick and I, Radio Rick, one of my co-hosts, actually did a Thanksgiving show that we recorded last week. And my microphone had a buzzing sound in the audio. I didn't pick it up while we were recording, but I went to edit. There was this buzz in the recording. And I think it's because it's a USB microphone, and I went through a USB hub, and then that plugged into the computer, and I should have maybe directly plugged the microphone into the computer and not gone through the little hub. Maybe something else that was connected to that was introducing some noise. I'm not sure, but we're going to retry that later on. What is really cool is that our new microphones were bought with the help of our Garden Fork patrons. So, little plug there. Ongoing contribution to Garden Fork helps us buy new gear like that. I'm also working on buying some new camera equipment and a new microphone. Just gonna experiment and change things up a little bit there. So, back to the deep fryer. I think deep frying is the best way to go, and there seems to be a lot of, I would just call it kitchen myths about deep frying. Yes, you need to pay attention to what you're doing, but you need to pay attention to what you're doing when you're driving a car too. So, the biggest thing with deep fryers is you have open flame and hot oil. And the best way to minimize any risk with that is whenever you're going to put the turkey into the deep fryer or take it out, is you turn the burner off underneath. And the trick there is to get one of those long barbecue lighters. It looks like a cigarette lighter, but it has a long metal barrel on it. So you can reach into the burner and click, 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 and start it right up. You want to make sure your turkey is fully defrosted, or by what's called a fresh turkey. And you want to pat the thing dry. Water and hot oil don't work very well. Generally, in a 30-quart deep fryer, I've found that 3 gallons of oil work very well. I use the cheapest vegetable oil I can find. It's usually on sale. Other people swear by peanut oil, but again, it's kind of like when you ask people about seasoning cast iron. There's some pretty strong opinions about that as well. But it's once you have the gear, the deep fryer gear, which there is a price to that. It's about $75 to $90, I think, depending on what you buy. You can reuse it every year, and you can deep fry other stuff like Twinkies. We have a video about deep fried Twinkies, and I want to do a follow-up video about some maybe bacon-wrapped deep-fried Twinkies. I think that would taste very nice. The second video is kind of a top 10 tricks and tips about deep frying. That's just safety procedures, things to make it easier. By the way, you can brine a deep-fried turkey, but you want to do the dry brine method. You can also do a dry rub, but you basically are rubbing it with salt or a rub mix the day before, put it in the fridge, just cover it with some plastic wrap to keep it from getting near some other food. When you drop that puppy into the hot oil, a lot of the rub will come off, but it'll flavor the oil as well. So that kind of in a gestalt way, I think will help flavor it. And deep fried turkey, the meat is not oily, it's moist. There is surprisingly, when I'm done deep frying the turkey and the oil's cooled down, I pour it back into the gallon containers it came in, and almost all the oil goes back into the used oil containers there. You can reuse oil. Some people say 5 times, some people say 3 times. The key is to filter it. Get a simple kitchen sieve with some cheesecloth in it and filter out the deep fried turkey bits, because that part could go rancid. So, my contribution for the Thanksgiving pig roast this late afternoon are baked beans. I thought roast pig, baked beans works very well. I really love beans. I'm eating more and more of them. For breakfast now, I've been having 2 scrambled eggs and some black beans or navy beans or chickpeas, and it's really filling. I think the eggs are a good, healthy protein source. You don't want to overdo it with eggs, but I think that's good. And the beans are another protein source, and they fill you up. I'm kind of a constant snacker, and I've had to dial that back. And this allows me to eat healthy and feel full. I mean, the whole idea of dieting, I feel, and this has been backed up by science, and actually we'll talk about this at length in an upcoming show, but the best way to lose weight is to eat less. Exercise is important, and it's great, but if you just dial back the amount of food you eat, you will lose weight. It works for me, so... Anyway, I was just going to talk about the side dish of beans I was going to make. It's a Dutch oven recipe. I take some chopped up, I guess you'd call it diced onion, and I chop up like 4 strips of bacon. I put the bacon in a Dutch oven, no oil, because the bacon is going to create enough fat there. And then I throw in the onion, and I cook it till it's kind of clear, starting to get brownish. I was always curious in the recipes. So many recipes say, cook and, brown your onions, whatever, and it'll take 5 minutes. It always takes much longer than that for me. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. But anyway, I've taken some white navy beans and I did a quick brine. I had some hot water that I had 1 tablespoon of salt in, 1 package of dry beans. And I dropped that in, and I let that sit for about 4 hours. And then last night before we went to bed, I rinsed the brine off the beans, and I put the beans in our slow cooker with fresh water that went up about 2 inches over the beans, because the beans will keep expanding. And I turned it on low, and I went to bed. This morning I woke up, the house smells like beans, but surprisingly the beans aren't fully cooked yet. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So that was about 7 hours of cooking. So this morning I turned it on to high, and they're bubbling away now. And we're going to go to this breakfast. And then when I come back, I will cook down the bacon. I think it's called lardons, I think, when you cut up slices of bacon. Throw in the, what's it called? Onions. And then I'll throw in the beans, and then a small can of tomato paste. Tomato paste is one of those super umami foods that you don't need a lot of. And I just think the small can works because it doesn't overwhelm. I think the beans, the bacon, 4 slices is pretty big there. And I mix that all together, and then I take 2 slices of bacon and I put it across the top as kind of a decorative thing. And then I put it in the oven. And I have the oven, depending on how long I want it to cook for, usually about 300 degrees. And it will come up and start to bubble. You can dial down the oven temperature if you want. I kind of like to bring it up to heat fairly quickly. And then you just let that puppy bubble for a couple hours. Then pull the lid off. And I like the top to kind of get kind of dry and a little crusty. If you want it really crusty, you can throw it under the broiler or use your propane torch. Don't buy one of those little kitchen butane burners. Get yourself a regular propane torch from the hardware store. MAP gas burns even hotter, by the way. That's in usually the yellow bottle, not the blue bottle. But that's what I'm going to make. It's wicked simple, and if the technology is working, I hope to make a video about that today, so we'll see. There. I have a big backlog of videos to be editing and showing to you guys here. So the best way to find out about all that is our email newsletter, which you can sign up for on our gardenfork.tv site. Or if you send an email to news@gardenfork.tv, you'll get an auto response. You should get an auto response. Let me double check that. Anyway, there's a link here in the show notes, but just go to gardenfork.tv, and anywhere on any page there'll be a sign up somewhere to say join our email list. Actually, I've got it set right now that first-time visitors, the first time you visit the site in a while, there's a little pop-up that comes up and says, would you like to sign up? And if you don't, you can just hit the close button. But I found that is kind of it's a little obtrusive, but I think it gets people a little more involved, and that is kind of what it's all about. So there you go. It's the Eric Thanksgiving solo show. Again, enjoy your day, and thanks for taking the time to listen. I appreciate it. Any thoughts? radio@gardenfork.tv is the best way to reach me. All right, so make it a great day. I'll see you later.